every time you purchase. So here we go. So I thought what I'd do is I'll just explain a little bit about who I am in case you don't know what these tasting packs are, and then I'll crack on and we can start doing the fun stuff. So my name's Toby Evers. I've worked for Naked for 10 years now, only more recently been thrust in front of you lucky people. So yeah, and I work on the wine team. I spend my day tasting wine, making sure they all taste good for all of you. So hopefully I'm doing a good enough job. So these tasting packs, some of you will be familiar, some of you will not. You'll have 6 in your box, hopefully. The first 3 are whites, the second 3 are reds. You'll have hopefully a tasting card that goes along with it. It's everything listed in here, what you need to know about the wines, just sort of smaller bits of information. If you want to know more, there's QR codes that will take you through to the website and you can find out a little bit more information. I'm going to talk about 4 of the wines, and we've got some special guests joining us to talk through. We've got Yanis here to talk through the Greek white, and then Irene from Chile to talk through the Petit Verdot. So 2 winemakers who I've worked with for years and years and massively respect. So it's a pleasure to have them here. So this is the first one of these this year. Very exciting. It's been a while. It feels like ages since we did this. When we did a vote for what we thought all of you lot would like to hear, and this topic is often high or top of the list, to be honest. As in the UK, we're always wired to find the next best deal or something unique. So this is the perfect format for which to do that. You don't have to take a punt on a whole bottle. You get the opportunity to taste lots of lovely wines. So, okay, enough of that. So I've got a background in education. I used to teach. I still do teach all the stuff about wine at Naked. So you will get an educational angle from me, hopefully. And I won't just spend my time giving you a tasting note. I'll try and just give you a little more, something relatable, some situational based tick points, if you like, for you to hopefully relate to the wine. Hopefully that makes sense to you all. Okay, so I've shared my screen. Hopefully you can all see this, and I'm not the best at this kind of stuff, so hopefully it all works. Right. First up, wine number 1. Oh, no, not that one. See, told you. So if you've all got these taster packs, I do warn you, I often will always snip a little bit too much off these bags and cover my computer in wine. So really do just take the tiniest amount off the corner of these bags that are inside here. I often find that when you're pouring, if it wants to go, it does, and then just give it a tilt and let the air in, and it'll come out a little easier rather than sloshing it everywhere. Okay, so those of you who know Naked well will hopefully have heard of Serena Cordero, perhaps not related to this part of the world. Serena makes wine in northern Italy, usually Piedmont, in the shadow of the Alps. So what has brought her here, you might well ask. Well, so she, as well as making wines for us, she's a very talented consultant, and she has time to help wine regions where they might struggle a little more to get out into the industry. So she applies some modern winemaking methods, and she's been employed by a winery in Moldova for some time now. And we went out and asked you guys what we should be buying a few years ago, and Eastern Europe came very high up on the list. So she put her hand up and said, look, I work in this winery. I work for them. I've got some great, delicious white wines, particularly. And well, I guess the rest is history. We have this Pinot Grigio. We have a blend called Tris, and then an oak Chardonnay that we launched in the Christmas case a couple of years ago. So I thought I'd do some bit of geography, then we can taste. Because given that we're off the beaten track, I thought it was important just to kind of get an understanding of where exactly we are. So Moldova is here right in the east end of Europe. Obviously, the big issue right now around there is it neighbors Ukraine. They've really been struggling because of the conflict. A lot of glass, for example, for a lot of the wine industry used to be produced in Ukraine. So that's one challenge. And of course, then getting trucks into to transport wine out was pretty tricky. And we nearly gave up, but luckily we didn't. So it's a pleasure to still be working with this region. This one particularly, if you see from there, is from the Korzeni, which is the region right down the south near the sea. You get the cooling influence from the Black Sea down there. So that's where you get the freshness, hopefully, that comes out in this wine. So I say this came in to onto the website. This vintage came in just sort of towards the end of last year, and honestly, we sell lots of lovely wines, but for pound, I honestly think this is one of the most best value whites that we sell. Taking away nothing from Yanis's wine, of course, but really, it really surprised me. Being Pinot Grigio, you might be forgiven for thinking it might be relatively neutral, which is what Pinot Grigio does very well in northern Italy. But here, for me, it really jumps out. It's very perfumed. I get so my note I wrote to myself, being studious, it's lovely and fresh perfume, apples and pears, bit of sweet citrus. If you swill it around in your glass like this, try not to throw it on your computer, which I've done before. It really opens it up. And yeah, you get a sort of fruit salad. If you remember fruit salad at school, it really smells like that to me. Okay, fine, have a taste. I will be spitting. Sorry about that, but I need to keep my wits about me. But to me, this really one of the key things when you're assessing wine is for wine tastes like it smells. That's a good thing. You know, that's a sure sign of quality, and that really is evident here. You know, it as expected, it's lovely and fruity, it's lovely and refreshing. And really, if you compare it to something from Northern Italy, it really stands apart, I think. And for the relatively inexpensive price that it is, I think that's fantastic, to be honest. The only thing missing, to me, like wine usually evokes some sort of what should I be doing with this glass of wine, and really to me this means sunshine and sitting outside in the grass and watching the sunset, something like that, which on a dark, just about February evening with the rain lashing down on my skylight isn't quite the right environment, but hopefully that'll help you. And when it comes to that time of the year, maybe you'll remember this wine. Okay, moving swiftly on. Just what I didn't say, there's a chat which I can see has gone absolutely bonkers. I believe there's a Q&A portion. There's a Q&A portion of the Zoom where you can ask questions. The guys in the background will flag the questions at me. Okay, so do bear that in mind. Okay. I'm going to just show you a couple of pictures, then I'll stop showing my screen so you can see my ugly mug a little better. So we're going to move very swiftly onto the second one here. Now this, when we were planning this session, this was the first wine that came to mind. I'm very lucky that I actually went down to South Africa at the end of last year to go and see all of our people down there. In the last few years, we've had a relationship with lots of people based on screens or WhatsApp or whatever. So to actually go down and see everyone was obviously a great privilege, but just a great reminder of what Naked's all about and this community of people that we're involved with. So Yeah, so this is from Renan Borman. This is called Boschkloof Montague White. It's a white blend. The blend is in my notes, it's mainly Chenin Blanc, 86% Chenin, and a little bit of Colombard in there. The wine region here, if you can see on my map there, is Montague. And honestly, I don't think I've ever been further away from civilization to visit a vineyard in going here. I mean, it doesn't look very far on that map there, but to get there is, if those who know South Africa, there's mountains around every corner, one road usually, and this was no exception. We would started in Stellenbosch, just down in, well, sort of east of Cape Town there, and it took us best part of 2.5, 3 hours to get that far. You know, as the crow flies, 60, 70 miles, but you have to go a long way around. So I'll quickly share a picture, and then we'll get into. Then I'll stop sharing the screen. So here we are. So this is the vineyard that eventually, after driving for hours and hours down both dirt tracks and paved roads, we came to this vineyard in honestly the middle of nowhere. We were driving through, if you see those hills in the background on that left-hand picture, driving through hills like that for seemed like forever. And then suddenly around a dirt track that we've been driving where half the road had been washed away by a river, we came across this vineyard. And there is the man himself, Renan Borman. Yeah, what that picture there on the right illustrates is the challenge that lots of wineries across South Africa, across most of the world are struggling with. Grapes are pretty fickle and can be low yielding. So they're often pulled up in favor of more profitable, easier to maintain crops. So on the left there, that's almond trees, which are more reliable and you can get more money from per hectare. But Renan found this vineyard, saw the quality, and he persuaded the owner of it to say, look, it'd be a travesty, and to pull out these vines. So he persuaded them, and as a result, the resultant wine, hopefully that you've got in front of you, is delicious. So one thing I really noticed when I snipped over, I prepared these bags, otherwise I'll again make a mess. But when I snipped open my bag, you can immediately smell the wine. It's very, very aromatic. For those of you who are fans of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc or that style of wine, this really reminds me of that. You get a very tropical profile coming out on the nose. Grapefruit, passion fruit. It really reminds me of a Solero, the ice lolly. And that's the passion fruit coming through. And again, this translates really well onto the palate. The lovely sweetness of the fruit comes through. You can see the difference between this and the previous one. It really, really coats your mouth. I mean, it's an acquired profile, perhaps, and some might find this a little bit too intense. But actually, when it's lovely and chilled, this hits the spot, and because there's no sugar in it, but because of the ripeness of the grapes, the quality of the grapes that Renan has managed to source here, you really get the impression of fruit sweetness. That's the sort of difference between fruit sweetness and sugar sweetness, if that makes any sense at all. But really a triumph, and this wine and the industry would have been lost in this part of the world. There's lots of people who work on these vines and who don't need to work on the low maintenance almond trees. So Renan hasn't only saved some very delicious grapes and some very delicious wine as a result. He's helped the local community who live right out here, and really, well, that makes it taste a bit better in my mind. Hopefully you're enjoying this. I certainly am. Right. I think without further ado, I've spoken for long enough now. We're going to bring in Yanis to discuss the next wine.
Hello from me. Hi to everybody. It's a long time for me since I was able to talk or speak with a lot of guys around the world. And I think I still remember my English since I was in Newcastle upon time. Once upon a time.
Very good.
Anyway, we mainly were new producers concerning Moscofilero. And nowadays we're quite proud because we have made an innovation in the wine making of this local, strictly local Greek variety. And as far as the microclimate is concerned, we are based in South Greece, in the middle of Peloponnesos, the place which is like a hand in the middle. But we are on the mountains, 650 altitude above sea level, and this is you see in the middle, yes, over there, down there, and this has a yes, in the middle of Peloponnesos, in the purple hand-like land, and we have a special microclimate, and this wine stems from there. As you see, it's very, very the color, it's very pure. And before we crush the wines, the grapes, we cool them down to 3 degrees Celsius. And this helps us a lot to prevent the loss of aromas. Plus all the chemical reaction are in very, very low process and in very low speed.
Does it get very hot during harvest?
Sorry?
Does it get very hot during harvest when you pick the grapes? Can it?
We harvest in the beginning of October, but since we are in Greece, we may face 25 degrees Celsius, which is a warm weather, you know. But to be honest, we prefer this weather instead of raining weather. And it has an aging potential 2-3 years, Phteri Moscofilero, and you may see that it's a floral wine. And it can combine perfume of, you know, night jasmine, roses, and mainly citrus fruits.
I really get the rose petal. That's one of the first things I wrote down when I.
And I think that wines like that can be easily be paired with Mediterranean cuisine mainly, you know, especially with dishes as pasta with basil, chicken à la crème, and pros, of course, seafood, and very light white or pink sauces. And of course, as you know, because it's a white wine, it's a purple gray variety, and it gives white wine plus rosé wines. It depends on how many days you leave the skin of the grapes get into contact with the juice. And honestly, we are very, very lucky and honored that we were and still are the only Greek winery that works perfectly with naked. So I wish to you cheers, yamas in Greece, and I hope from the bottom of my heart for you to have a very good year of 2024.
Yes. And
if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me, and I hope I will be able to answer to you.
Yeah, if there are any questions coming in live, I'm going to fire them out now.
Please.
I want to come through. Are there any challenges, or what are the main challenges, let's say, with making wines in Greece?
The problem with the Greek wines is that we have very, very good wines, especially the last decade. But as far as the marketing as a country, we don't have the marketing at the extent we wanted in order to be able to sell to abroad to the level of the cases that we could sell. The last 5 years, we have succeeded to increase as a country our exports, and this is due to the fact that we travel a lot to wine tastings and things like that. And this is the other guy that has the same name as me, is my nephew Thodoris. And the last years, we are happy because we sell mostly to abroad, and the sales are going higher and higher. And the next aim of the winery in the coming years is to produce sparkling wines.
Sparkling red wine, did you say?
Sparkling white wine.
White wines, okay.
Moscofilero is a variety that can produce sparkling wines as far also as champagne.
Okay. And will it be made in the same way as champagne, or will you?
Traditional.
Hmm?
We want to produce it in the traditional way.
Very cool. And if you want to introduce this grape type to people who haven't tried it before, what other grape type would you say more mainstream that that if they really like this, they should try Moscofilero?
First of all, in general, everybody has to taste new wines, no matter if we like them or not. This is another part in our mind. I propose to you to taste Pteri Moscofilero, because this variety is only produced in a specific piece of land in Greece. And after that, you will see that in a very, very good package of wines of Naked, you can also have in a very decent price a wine that it's a value for money, and it's a wine that can be served with plenty of dishes that stem from the Mediterranean cuisine.
Okay.
And also you can have it as an aperitif.
Okay. I think to me that's what this wine for me is in that's where my brain goes with something like this, because it's lovely and light and floral, and so it'd be a lovely wine to have if you've got lots of food and you've got lots of flavors in your palate. The wine wouldn't look as lovely as it does now in my opinion. I mean, everyone's different, of course, but that's how I think it would do the best for me. There's loads of questions, Yanis, so you need to be ready. Is there a type of wine that you'd like to make that you've never been able to do, as in somewhere else in the world, or a grape type that doesn't grow well in Greece?
We are focused in local varieties, to be honest. We admire a lot other wineries that they do the best out of their abilities in order to extend the winemaking of the variety that they grow in their country. And the next level and the next aim, apart from the sparkling wine of the winery, it tries to plant a very old variety of red wine in order not to make sales, but in order to make known to the world that this variety, many decades in the past, were grown in the same land that Moscofilero was growing.
I guess that sort of variety might be lost forever if you don't do it. Yes. Great. A question: is the winery a family winery? I'm fairly sure it is. Is that right?
It's a family winery. It's only 13 years old. We began in 2010 when the Greek crisis, the economical crisis, began, and it's a family winery. And as I told you before, the second generation, my nephew, which he is 25 years old, and his name is Thodoris, Ted in few words. He's an enologist with master's courses in northern Italy and also in Bordeaux. And now he's in Chile, and he works for a very big winery in order to gain experiences from other countries.
Perfect. Hopefully you're not planning on retiring anytime soon.
No, I'm 47. I think that men get old after 90.
Fair enough. Let me just see if there's any more questions coming in. There's somebody asking, are we likely to see the Hoof and Lure back anytime soon?
He knows or she knows something. Okay. Hoof and Lure.
We took it once, I think, a few years ago. It's been a long time.
Hoof and Lure was the first Greek wine that New York Times wrote about it, that it's amongst the 10 imported wines in the state, the best, that somebody can buy below $20.
Okay.
This wine, it's a low intervention wine. It has a skin contact more or less for 12 days, and we produce it in cement tanks. We are a winery that brought cement tanks a few years ago, and after us, other Greek wineries started working with cement tanks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a winery. It's a wine that it's unfiltered, low intervention wine with full aromas, but also it gives you aromas like roses and caramel.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got the wine. We have the other wine that we sell from you.
You have Brut Gris.
Yeah.
Brut Gris.
Which is similar to this, yeah?
More or less, yes. So, Brut Gris, after the press, it goes half of it in inox, half of it in wooden barrels, and after some time, the juice gets mixed in the cement tank again. Similar but different.
It's I mean, for those who don't know it, we've had it for 2 vintages now. It's a fantastically beautiful wine label, and then the color of the wine it's quite hard to explain. Sort of cloudy orange, pink.
It's graysy, it's gray, and it's in between orange and rosé.
Yeah,
exactly. Something like that.
It's one of those wines that it's quite hard to understand or anything, but it's fabulous at the same time. Yeah, so it's called Brut Gris. Hopefully one of the guys in the background can put the link for when it's next back up onto the website. But yeah, a lovely one. And well, Yanis, thank you for your time today. It's lovely to see you and to hear about the wines.
For me, it was, and it's still an honor to be amongst all of you tonight. Thank you, and everybody is welcome to visit Greece and our winery whenever he or she wants.
Great. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch out from having some white wines. We're going to move swiftly into red. I'm just going to quickly reshare my screen very briefly to show them. One moment. Not that one. Perhaps I won't. Technology is failing me. So we are going to look next at a wine from North Macedonia. It's called the Merak, made by Marko Stojakovic. North Macedonia. I will try and share my screen again because I really think it is worth trying to see this. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, North Macedonia is, again, well, those of us who aren't so great at geography might have sort of got close, but perhaps not too close to where exactly this is in Europe. You've got the Albania there. You've got the Aegean Sea down to the south. So the Aegean is where like Troy was, for example. It's just sort of trying to paint a picture of where you are. And then if you go west from here, you hit Italy in not very in pretty short order. So and this wine particularly, I'll stop sharing now. But for me, when we are looking for off the beaten track, in inverted commas, that what you really want to find is you want unique, different wines, you want high quality, and you want great value. That's the sort of holy trinity. And here with this wine, I firmly believe that's what we've achieved, and we're very proud to have found it. We actually held a big tasting with the Archangels some years ago. I admit it was rather a long time ago now. We met up in London, and I called in samples from all over this part of the world, and this wine was tasted blind, and with amongst many other, well, unique grape varieties, let's say, and this wine came out easily on top. So hence the reason we're there. This wasn't a decision that was made by the wine buying team here. This was Archangels getting together and deciding what was best. So we need to thank them for that, and this, well, has proven to be the proofs in the pudding, and this is that. So this is made by Marko Stojakovic. He's North Macedonian, and he's been making wine for many years. He's earned his stripes in some very famous chateaus in Bordeaux, Chateau Parma being one of them. Another Vieux Telegraph, Chateauneuf de Pape. So these are big famous names, and he was, they don't just employ anybody. They look for the best. So that's where he earned his stripes. But being a passionate North Macedonian, he decided to head home. He obviously identified that here, there's fantastic grapes, and the ability to make fantastic wine. So he decided that his future as a passionate North Macedonian was here, and it has proven to be successful. So, excuse me, we sell two wines from Marko. We have the Merak here, which is that both wines are based in Vranac. Vranac there, that's the grape variety. This one is Merlot within the blend. The slightly more premium one called Saga has a Syrah Shiraz component within it. It's slightly more premiumly priced. This wine, it won, well, ever since we've had it, it's been winning awards left and right. This vintage won gold at the Decanter Wine Awards, Decanter World Wine Awards. The previous vintage, there's a typo there on my slide, I apologize. This is the 22 that you've got here. The 2021 vintage won a trophy with the International Wine Challenge, Best Wine in North Macedonia. It won platinum in Decanter. So, these are big awards that we're extremely proud of, and this wine, we're delighted to have it here with us. It's getting attention from the critics, which is something that's flattering when it's those big names. So, in terms of tasting, I mean, what I noticed immediately when I poured this out earlier on is the color. It really, if you've got a bit of white paper or a bit of white background somewhere, and you tilt your glass ever so slightly. Again, don't tilt it too far. I've once poured a bottle of Amarone all over my laptop and killed it, so just be careful. But you really notice the sort of luminous color that this wine has. I mean, some reds might not have that. The way the light really travels through it, I really noticed it, to be honest. So, which is obviously a good sign. If the wine has that lovely color to it, it means hopefully that'll translate into the profile of it as well. So if you smell it, I mean, well, I mean, even when it's different from when I opened it before, but it's immediately primary fruit. So, it's just, fruits of the forest come out, red and black cherry for me. Just really, it's very primary. There isn't so much secondary. I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but there isn't too much oak influence or too much aging. It really is just very approachable, lovely and fruity, and which is what you want. Wine should be enjoyable, and this is the epitome of that for me. So, like I said, lots of lovely fruit profiles there. Hopefully the palate it translates to. If you remember, I said before, the sign of quality is if it translates through. It's always look for. So, for me, this does, you get lovely crunchy bramble fruit, blackberries and raspberries for me. There's lovely acidity. There's sort of, you pick acidity by how much you salivate after tasting. And for me, the acidity balances the wine. It leaves you refreshed, and it turns the fruit from being the sort of slightly riper style to the bit of crunch, which to me is very attractive. There's a bit of dustiness for me in there, but tannin, maybe something savory, bit of mushroom or something like that. And then the fruit does actually return on the finish. It sort of has, it really is the full package. And ultimately you want a wine to be moreish, and this is that. It's sort of, well, the sort of my sum up of this, what this is it strikes the balance between something that's really approachable and something that's pretty serious. So if you want to educate your palate a little, this could be a good segue into doing that. But it doesn't take itself too seriously either. I wrote myself a little note saying this is a fantastic sofa wine. You can sit or have a bowl of pasta, sit on the sofa, and watch Gladiators or something. And this would absolutely be the business for me. There's some questions coming in. I'll just quickly address those. Should you use an electric aerator for red wine or a carafe? Honestly, I don't have experience with an electric one. I would always say a carafe is good. In terms of decanting wine in general, every wine benefits from being decanted, whether it's the cheapest one on the list or the most expensive. Wine's been there anaerobic in a bottle for however long that might be, and the oxygen that once you uncork it or unscrew it, will wake it up. And so a decanter would be good. If you don't have a decanter, grab your closest water jug or Pyrex measuring jug, pour it into there and pour it back into the bottle, and that'll do just the job, to be honest. And really it'll make your wine drinking, wine enjoyment tenfold, I assure you. Okay. In terms of aging for this, because the question is 2, 3, or 5 years, I would honestly say for aging you need to have acidity, which this has, and you need the fruit. Again, I don't want to get too into the weeds, so I'm doing some studies at the moment, but if the fruit quality is good and it's got somewhere to go, it'll age well. So I'm easily picking out various profiles. So if they're easy to spot, the general rule of thumb is that the wine will age well. It doesn't have the oak in it and the resultant stability, let's say, to last 5 years, but certainly 2, 3 years, 4 years, maybe there's no issue at all with this wine. Okay. Okay, we're going to swiftly, not so swiftly, move into talking about the next wine. So I'll stop. I haven't shared my screen. I'm gonna introduce Irene. Hopefully Irene's there in the background somewhere.
Yeah. Hi, from Chile.
Hi, Irene. So Irene joins us from Chile. Thank you. It's not early in the morning with you, is it? It's sort of lunchtime-ish.
No, it's 5 in the afternoon, and it's really, really summertime. We are just very hot weather than here in South America. Every day is around 30 degrees as the maximum.
Oh, wow. Well, it hasn't stopped raining in England, in the UK, for the last 2 months, probably. So well, lucky you, Irene. We're getting the first little signs of spring coming, which is what we're all desperate for, I think. But anyway, enough. So what I'll do, Irene, you sent some lovely photographs. So what I'll do, everybody, I will share the screen with some pictures. Irene can talk through those, and then I'll stop sharing and we can taste together.
I took these pictures this morning. I was walking into the vineyards to get some sampling and taste the grapes. That's the vineyard. It's from a drone. You can see from the air. We are located in the Andes Piedmont. So it's a very special place. It's in the central part of Chile, but in the Andes Piedmont, that gives us a very unique and special microclimate. We are the first to use the water from the snow. In Chile, almost all our water and irrigation come from the snow from the Andes. And in this state, we are just receiving from there.
Is water supply a problem?
This year, no. This year is last year and this year is getting better than before. We got a very rainy winter, and that means a lot of snow in the Andes, and that's fantastic for us. And we have a reservoir there where we keep the water for summertime. That's are the cluster, like how they look today. So it's very updated. And Petit Verdot is a small kind of plant. The clusters are small and the berries are small. But that's a lovely contradiction about the wine, because the wine is so big, so intense, and it's totally the opposite that you see in the vineyards. The skins in the grapes are very thick, so that results in a very concentrated tannins and very concentrated wine. And I put that picture, Toby, because normally we need to do a lot of cluster removal, because it has a lot of small clusters, but we left some of them to get all the concentration and all the flavors that we want to have.
Because if you have too many grapes, grapes on the vine, you get watered down.
Related to the quality that we are looking for, and especially because the weather there is a little bit cooler, so we need to control the clusters to get fully ripe. And the vineyard was planted in 2008, and this wine, the 2019, is the third harvest of this Petit Verdot, because I used to have the Petit Verdot from many times, but I use for blending because of the amount of tannins and the intensity of the wine. And 2017, I decided to put a tank, just 100% Petit Verdot. So I think that's one of the things that I like to enhance, because it's not many Petit Verdots at 100%. I will put a little bit here. I have the bottle is here.
Lovely.
We'll put a bit.
And Petit Verdot, it's originally not from Chile. There's a grape variety. It's a Bordeaux varietal, would you say?
Yeah, it's from France, and we have in Chile no many vineyards, but it's a variety that needs a long, dry summer, even a kind similar of Carmeneria, I would say. Carmeneria and Petit Verdot are the last ones to be picked here. And when we are in harvest, when we have the Petit Verdot in the tanks, when we do drum powers, it's almost blue, because it's so intense in color. It's almost black blue, something like that. And the winery smells totally of Petit Verdot. It's very intense in aromas. And again, it's a lovely contradiction, because it has a lot of ripe fruits, and at the same time, some kind of spicy, or I said rosemary.
It's very intense. Like, again, it's one of those wines that when you're pouring it, you can smell it, let alone when you put your nose in there. It just really jumps out.
And it's a wine that you were telling the qualities of the wine to be aged, and this one, because of the tannins, the acidity, the concentration, is a wine that aged very nicely. In fact, I was scared of when we made the 2017, the first crop, I try to keep in the bottle for extra time because it's really, really intense.
So do you think this wine is looking well now, or do you think it'll last?
I think, and it's changing the color too to a little bit more, showing some aging, and that's good. Normally, when we have in the barrels, we taste the barrels for 6, 8, 9 months, and still the barrels don't go through the wine because the wine itself has a lot of deepness. So I think for the flavors, it's very difficult to get in, and I like that.
So what fruit profile do you get on the nose and on the palate? What's the what if you're buying Petit Verdot, what do you expect?
You can have the right flavors of flowers. In some ways are similar to the Syrah, it can be. But then you have the contradiction with some kind of green or spiciness. I think in this one, I have more intense the spicy side, like the rosemary. And in the mouth, you have the acidity just coming out at the very early taste in your mouth. And then I think the tannins are already more quiet because of the time.
I think like for me, this, I don't know when I tasted this first with you, a few years ago now, but it seems more mellow than it was and calmer. Before it was quite intense and almost too much so. Now it still has that, but it's more of a circle, if that makes sense to anyone.
Yeah, when we decide to make the first bottling, like 100%, I was thinking maybe we will not sell anything, so we need to drink everything at home because sometimes when you are not used to have that amount of tannins, can be different and different to understand. But we work in the cellar to, how you say, to like when you have a horse and you need to kind of train to be more nice. We do that with the tannins, and I think it works. And the wine, because it's in the bottle for a long time, it's good if you give the time for getting some air before drinking. And it's a wine more for food, I would say, because of the acidity, the intensity, and the tannins. But I love this variety from the time that we ferment, and I see the winery completely in the aroma of the Petit Verdot, and I planted without any specific plant. Just I planted 2.5 hectares in 2008 to see how it grows in the Piedmont Andes, and the results are very, very nice.
Right. And this isn't of course all that we sell from you. We have a lovely Carmenere and a lovely Syrah, and maybe a new one coming as well, which we should.
I start a long time ago. I think I met Rowan, the founder, in a London wine fair when that fair was made in the Docklands.
Oh, in the XL, yeah.
In the big space, like that was like 2008 or 2009. At that time, I have only one wine, only the Ilatina Syrah.
Wow.
And now the Ilatina, we have this Petit Verdot, the Syrah, and the Carmenere.
Great. Well, it's nice that hopefully we can be part of your growth as a winemaker and your own brand, which is lovely. Irene, how many dogs do you have at the moment? If lots of people you may or may not know, Irene takes in. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you take in stray dogs that don't have a home, and you.
At this moment, we are kind of quiet. Because normally I take the dogs, so my two sons, they do, And always we think we will be giving to someone, and finally everyone stays home. In fact, here is one of them under the desk here in the office, Choquito. He has only one eye, and he comes with me every day to work. Super happy. He's the more happy worker that you can see, because he just ran to work every morning with me. And yeah, we have like at this moment 6, 5, like 13 at this moment.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Gosh, very noble. Great. Well, Irene, let me just see if there's any questions that have come in on the messaging. Well, that's a good one. Someone, is the I for Irene on the name?
Yes, I put I put I Latina because sometimes when you I say my name in English, some people ask, is with I Latina or with the Y or with the other I?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, so I said no, with I Latina. So I keep the name for that.
And I'm definitely pronouncing your name wrong as well, I think, aren't I? I'm saying it the English way.
Yeah,
I'll try
to say in any Spanish or English.
Oh, somebody wants to see the dog.
Sorry. It's in the other corner. Sorry.
heard us talking and ran away, probably.
Yeah. You don't want to be on the screen.
And
the last one that we have is called Chico because it's super small.
Oh, bless.
That arrives on May 1st. He came alone to the winery, and now he stays here for always.
Fantastic. There's a question about the water. Let me just find it. Does the water from the snow alter the taste profile different to water from underground, let's say?
I think when you have from the snow, it can get some airs because it's traveling from the mountains to the low part in the valleys. So it gets some calcarium pH, or it can be more acid depending on the floor or the soil that the water is running. And the water that we have under tends to be very clear, crystal, and normally pH is kind of neutral and is very cold normally when you get deep. The Andes can be cold, but when you are very close, it tends to get warmer when it's going to the ocean. Normally, the water from the Andes gets cloudy because of the traveling through the channels and through the soil.
Picks up all the minerals and
yeah. We do drip irrigation in the vineyards to control the amount of water and to be more efficient with the use of the water at the same time.
So for those who don't know, drip irrigation is you basically have a hose running down the length of the vines with a little hole at every vine, approximately. You just turn the tap off, don't you? Just so a little bit of water goes in.
It's more efficient, and it's the more, we say, modern way of irrigate when you irrigate, because for the past or some years ago, you put the water through in between the rows in the vineyard, like a channel, a small channel, and that's needs a lot of water and it's very inefficient. So
and you'd lose lots of water out the other end, I guess.
Yeah. So we have the
lots of winemaking regions really struggle for water, so I guess you must respect it. I think that is it. What are the challenges in getting wine to the UK? Is the final question I've seen there. I mean, that's maybe our challenge, not yours. You know,
I was before I founded I started with the wines, with my own wines. I used to work in another companies, and I know the market in UK is, you are very lucky in having wines for all around the world. And that makes your market very, how to say, exigent and demanding in terms of quality for Chile and for the other countries that we export for you. And when you are like in UK, it's like you pass the more difficult, I will say, the more difficult country to be in because of the experience and the many wines that you have from abroad everywhere. In fact, the tasting today is very interesting. I was listening, and in Chile is a lot of taxes, so we don't have many wine from other countries. So it's amazing for you to have the opportunity to try wines from everywhere. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And of course, well, increasingly so, we're getting lots of English wine. The English wine industry is growing, so which is nice to have our own wine as well. But great, I think that's all we have on the questions. So, Irene, I just want to say thank you very much for giving us your time. The wine is delicious. And good luck with harvest. When is it going to begin, do you think?
I think with the Chardonnay, with Chardonnay that is here around the winery, we will start in 2 more weeks. This year is a little bit late, like 1 week late than the last year. So normally we start around 10 of March, and this year will be like 15, I guess.
Okay, well, good luck, and I hope it goes well, and look forward to tasting the new vintage when it comes.
Thank you everyone for listening, and Toby for you, and thank you for the invitation.
Of course.
Ciao.
Ciao, Irene. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly, I think we only have an hour, but I'm just going to taste the final wine here today. We've got the delicious Negreiros. It's a very hard word to say, but made by Mario Negreiros in the Douro. I'll very quickly just show you where we are in terms of a map. There we go. So we're in Portugal. We're in northern Portugal here. This wine is made by Mario Negreiros. Very hard name to say. I do apologize, Mario, for butchering it. But he's a very lovely man. For those of you who've met him, he's infectiously energetic. Always has an interesting story. His history is actually as a journalist based in Rio de Janeiro, and so he was not in wine at all. There's a family business in Portugal which he eventually came back to take over. The family vineyard actually used to sell, or still does, well, actually I'm not sure about now, but used to sell most of its grapes to Cobans, which is a very famous port, and which is the nature of Portuguese winemaking. I'll stop sharing this screen now. The average size of property in the Douro particularly is something ridiculous, like a half a hectare or something very small anyway. And the nature of the business is that you sell your grapes to the big port houses, or historically and increasingly so wineries. And but Mario decided that he didn't want to do that anymore, his grandfather's estate. So they decided to keep the best stuff for themselves. And well, cheers to Mario, because that's what we've got here. It's his middle of the range in terms of the sort of ladder of wines that we have from him. There's one called Nu, which means naked in Portuguese, and then there's a reserve level of this wine as well. So the blend in here, we've got Touriga Nacional, which is the sort of, call it the flagship grape of the Portuguese wine industry. That's 80% of the blend, and then there's 20% Touriga Franca. The Portuguese really are the sort of master blenders, if you like. You can see by the vineyards there. There's a sort of rich tapestry of different vineyards and different climates, and it's a narrow country, so that you've got coastal influence and also influence from the continent. So really, that's what sort of epitomizes what Portugal is. And there's lots of great varieties that are impossible to pronounce, but they all sort of form a part of the blend, and this is no exception to that. You would have seen from the photo I shared, it's a very wild and unforgiving place. It's hot. Those of you who follow Oscar Quevedo might have seen a video that he posted a year or two ago now of wildfires raging through the valley. He's at the top of the hill, and there are wildfires in the valley destroying vineyards, and so it's very barren. Water is very scarce. But as a result, because of the heat, you get this concentration of flavor. The ripeness of grapes is strictly controlled. You've got to be very careful, but you get fantastic intensity. So this, it's where Irene's was. It's a little different to that. This is brooding, if you like. It's wider. Like Irene's, you immediately get flavor profiles. Here, it just sort of tastes. It smells big, and broad and intense. It sort of feels like it's a sleeping giant in some kind of way. Like it's very dark blackberry, black plum. Those sort of profiles coming through for me. I'm not going to spit anymore. It's been a long night. No, really. So anyway, for me, you really get that intensity coming through. There's lots of tannin. It's very dark fruit, almost inky. Again, I've said already today about the acidity. The acidity is there. It balances the wine. Without the acidity, the tannins would still be there. The fruit would feel claggy, if that's the right word. But the acidity just carries the wine and gives it freshness. Mario himself would say this is far too young, even at being 5 years old now, or nearly 5 years old in September. But he would say keep it for another 5 or 10 years potentially as a style of wine. You can really, because of the tannins and because of the acidity that Irene alluded to before, this really will age fantastically, and the fruit is concentrated and dark, and it's got so far to go, really, in my opinion. Okay. And Mario, what was I going to say? Yeah, he's been with us for a long time. He's actually brought his daughter Katerina into the fold. He's one of the old school, let's say, and he's a fantastic winemaker. He's a creative, he's a writer. It's not so hot on the tech, replying to emails or our very complex computer purchase order systems. So his daughter Katerina is a breath of fresh air for him and for us, and it really has allowed him to focus on the good stuff. Yeah, and he actually there's a proper community. He works with Oscar Quevedo as well. They'll help each other out, and it's nice that they sort of probably wouldn't have met without the Naked community, which is always nice to think. There's a question here, Toby. How did you put the wines together? Yes, I did. I mean, these tastings are owned by whomever is presenting, and I decided to, well, you can see where I can enthuse about wines, places I've been, wines I particularly enjoy. So I'm very glad that you enjoyed it. Again, not harping on too much about this format of tasting, but you might not want to buy a whole bottle of a Greek white. Don't want to take the punt. So actually, do come to more of these sessions, because it gives you the opportunity just to see how you might go. It might change your views somewhat. I mean, we're all the same creatures. You find you generally will buy the same things at the supermarket and buy the same wines, and so this is a nice way to hopefully introduce you to some different things. Okay. In the background, they're asking me, do I have a favorite? I don't know if that's you guys on the or somewhere there. I mean, I can't possibly pick a favorite. Like I'd, I'm very fond of. Oh, it's from Jane. Okay, Jane. So Jane, having been to see Renan quite recently, I'm probably most attached to him and that winery, having been there, experienced it, felt it. It's very easy to stand and assess wine in your office in a garden in Suffolk, but to actually go there and get a feel for it all, really. Wine is, again, don't want to get too romantic, but wine is much more about naked. It allows you to have, there's a bit more romance about it. You can be part of it, and that Montague wine, I understand it and enjoy it. So that's probably it. But they're all good, of course. Right, I think that's all I have to say about that. The next event, well done, reminder. We've got one coming up we've got a taster pack event towards the June time-ish. I think we're going to have another one. We're going to try and do another 2 or 3 this year. So do keep a lookout. Do keep a lookout for that. And of course, don't forget about our tasting tours. There's one coming up in the summer where you get to, we fly all winemakers in from all over the world, and we have 300, 400, 500 people a night come to meet them at tastings across the country. So keep a lookout for all of that if you want to come and meet some of these people in person. But I think that's a lot. I think I'll wrap with that. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. I certainly have. And hopefully you've learned something along the way. Okay, cheers.